All right, everyone. I just want to take this opportunity to welcome you to our February GSERA membership meeting. My name is Dennis Soares. I'm the president, and I'm super excited to be here with our board to present uh, a interesting topic that's going to be hosted by Dr. I like to call him Dr. Mark, right? I always put that in quotes every time I throw that on our social media, and I'll let him introduce himself in a moment. But he's going to be giving some tips in some survival uh, opportunities, things we can make note of when we're students working full-time jobs, perhaps parents, perhaps living a busy lifestyle, and trying to do all that while being an R3 and an R4 student. I remember my time going through those courses. It was very, very tricky. And thankfully, for the support through GSERA and friends and excellent instructors I had, I was able to get through it in one piece. But it wasn't easy. And Dr. Mark is going to be talking about that in a few moments. But I just want to take an opportunity to introduce some board members. Again, my name is Dennis Soares. I'm the president, proud president of GSERA, and I'm going to move over to Mark to introduce himself.
Thank you. I'm Mark Scheinbaum, second year as vice president. And I guess we could have our interim advisor say hi.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Anderson, Dr. Anderson, and professor at Northeastern University, the doctoral program. By day, principal of a middle school, and by night, I describe professor. And really excited to step in here and to advise GSERA, and looking forward to tonight's presentation.
Thank you, Jen.
Hi, guys. I'm Jennifer Miller, and I'm program director of the mentoring program at GSERA.
Awesome. So just for name acknowledgments, I'd like to acknowledge Sherry Wilkoskis. She's our treasurer. She could not make it this evening due to a family obligation. And also our secretary, Carolyn Mizak. She's also looking for individuals like to help participate in our GSERA newsletter, which we are starting to build as we speak. That being said, we're here tonight to talk about life as an R3, R4 student. And Dr. Mark is going to be, Dr. Mark, I want to take this opportunity to thank you. He prepared a very thorough presentation for all of us based on his experiences and also the experiences of people who he's worked close with. And I'm looking forward to hearing this presentation. So Dr. Mark.
Thank you, Dennis. And I guess the warning or the disclaimer is that this is all my personal assessment of some of the individual experiences that I reflected upon going through a full load of working 2 or 3 full-time jobs, and then really thinking it was a good idea to take 2 courses at all time, which may not be the perfect thing for all people. I'm really going to speed through this little PowerPoint thing that I put together. There's some pride of authorship, but not a great pride in authorship. And I've got backup documents and big lists of annotated bibliographies and stream of consciousness note-taking. So if you have a question about any of these sections, send me an email, and I'll send you some of the actual Microsoft Word or PDF attachments that I was referring to. And then a couple of moments at the end, maybe my colleagues will have some comments about it. So hopefully this will be visible, and Dennis will tell me if you can see the first slide.
I can't. I think if you click from the beginning,
from the beginning is what I've got. Okay,
top left.
so
There you go.
so you're able to see. Are we able to see doctoral study tips or not?
Yeah, yep, I can see it.
Okay, and I mean, it's large enough print, so you're seeing the main screen, correct?
Right.
Okay, so the deal here is that we all have hopes and dreams. Maybe you have your master's degree fairly recently, and everything's going to go great, and you're going to sail off into the sunset. It'll be hard work, but we did R3 and R4, and we completed our goals, and we had great advisors and great mentors such as Dr. Anderson and others like Dr. Unger. But then there's the fear that maybe it won't go that well, and you'll end up like the people who opposed Christopher Columbus at the time. So I'm taking my personal journey, and we'll take over with Ben Franklin that off, and I'll try to walk you through some of the things that really hit me as important when Dennis and some other folks say, why don't we have some kind of a mini clinic or something here for our first meeting? On the left is what you're going to get in your elective courses. You're going to see this on your Canvas platform in R3 and many of your courses. This was just a typical week. And they're going to say you've got your lecture, you've got learning, all of these things. And this will be the assignment you're going to be getting. They'll be detailed, there'll be audios, there'll be videos, readings, TED Talks, all of these great things. But you've got to have your own checklist. And as you start into, many of the professors are going to really encourage you find a study group, you make a study group, or they will assign you and put you in a study group. The first thing is they love to do 4 or 5, depending on the size of the class, 5 or 6 or whatever. I'm not a psychologist and I don't play one on TV, but 3 is the number. Don't feel bad if the professor says, oh, we had an odd number and I couldn't get you a 4th, you only have 3. 3 is the best. 3 is manageable. You have personal things. You get to know each other. You have friends for life, and nobody could outvote. There's no ties when you vote with people. So my impression, the best in 2.5 years, anytime you can have 3 people in your work group, in your study group is the best. Time zones are real. They're not make-believe. If you've got 2 people studying in Seattle and someone else is in Charlotte, that's a problem. It's a problem with their families and their schedule. If they're in Zimbabwe or an aircraft carrier in Kuwait and you're in Boston, it's a problem. Ask, find out. An hour difference, Central Time Zone, is not too bad. But be careful. Ask for a change. It's really difficult to do this workload when you're dealing with people who spread around the globe. If that's good, if you're a night person and you want to deal with Shanghai, that's great. But not everyone works that way. Rotate your divisions of labor. Don't get into one of these situations where Susanna, you're secretary, and Joaquin, you're going to be scribe, and you're going to call each meeting, and if you call it, and then I'll do the transcription. No, rotate the division of labor so not everyone is stuck with the responsibilities every week. Go ahead on your calendar. Select a different scribe for your meetings, your discussion groups, and share the workload. Nobody wants to feel like, oh, I got 3 weeks in a row because someone was sick. Create safety nets for yourself. I'll talk to that in a minute, which means if you have 15 assignments, if you have 9 assignments, familiarize yourself with at least the abstract of everything in that module. You can't trust that everyone's going to be there that week. You have to have a familiarity with at least the abstract of everything that was on that page for that week. This was the original name of the presentation tonight. There's no such thing as recommended. No. Okay, no. It's not optional. It's not recommended. It's the real deal. It's the real deal. The professor is going to give you learning objectives. That could be a recording, a video. They love to use TED Talks. They're really good. That's going to be prompted with the key of the week, whether you need to do takeaways, aha moments. Every professor has their own shtick. You're going to be told about the work product that will be evaluated there. Okay, you move from the professor to the slides. They'll do a lecture slide, sometimes a short audio or a video or both. They will give you a short video or lecture guide on what the key points are for that week or that period. There'll be summaries of journal articles, dialogues, required additional, and then everything, your readings for the week, and on the bottom be recommended sources. I suggest, again, it's not because you're sucking up. It's because there's a reason why they're recommended. That might be more pertinent to your dissertation, to your POP, than all of the regular assigned ones. And Google Scholar is your best friend. Yeah, I know we've got ProQuest and we've got all these other things in the library. The fact is, Purdue OWL is good too. Google Scholar is going to be your legal way to speed everything, because once you put in those assigned readings into Google Scholar, boom, you're going to come up with the ability to see what other people cited that article. How was it used? Where else was it published? This is your key. And of course, if you're lazy, you're going to click on the citations. You're going to get your automatic APA hanging tab 7th edition format simply by clicking on the little box in Google Scholar. Okay, and here's an example of what I took from that Miles and Huberman thing, where it actually came out where we ended up with references, some articles, One of the things in one of the articles actually proved helpful in identifying other things for your dissertation or my dissertation. And then I took a look at where they were cited by 3 other people. The article that he or she assigned to you was cited by 43 other people. Pretty impressive, particularly if they were seminal authors in their own field. It's a shortcut. It's the type of things where you need to do this on every single part of the assignment, even if it said recommended or optional. By the way, if you have a time limit and they said, oh, no more than 300 words, no more than 800 words, go on the bottom, say, in addition to the required abstracts, I also have notes on the additional material that was recommended if needed. Put a note on the bottom. So you will stand out, and you'll also have it available for your group. Cited by, here's an example of what that produced, from Turkey, from India, Bangladesh, Australia, New Zealand. Come on, we're multicultural, we're interdisciplinary. Go around the world. Use the information, including the information on those recommended and additional supplemental assignments to help build stuff and keep this in the stable for your own dissertation. Okay, you never know what you're going to produce. There's no such thing as sick. There's no such thing as lazy. There's no such thing as grading papers. There's no such thing as measles or mumps for your kids. That's life. You set yourself on the dissertation. If 3 of your members are sick, if you're busy and it's hard, fine. Everything you put down is an archived academic research work, which, like your ugly pictures on Facebook, can never be erased. You will do your best. You may be up till 3 in the morning. Skip the assignment and ask for forgiveness. But once you've committed it, make sure your best feet are forward. Your best work is in every single thing you submit at Northeastern. In a minute, you'll see why, because Northeastern's best work happens to be the best work. Okay, typical assignments where you're dealing with that group of 3 or whatever, you'll probably have 4 people assigned. You decide we're going to divide the labor up. Everybody's going to get 3. We only had 8 listed, but there were 12 others. Of course, the teacher said, let's do some optional. But now Patricia or Patrick, either way, is sick and fails to send in any of their summaries of their work. So now you only have 3 people doing 3 each. You have 9. You're short 3. It's due tomorrow. All these other things. Cover your bases. Use 2 computers if you have to. Take your notes on the side. Keep a running stream of consciousness of all of, at the very least, take the abstract from wherever, particularly Google Scholar, so you can go back and at least have a familiarity with the topic of these readings, including the recommended readings, because there will be a week where some of your people will do nothing, because that's the nature of teamwork and peer collaboration. Sometimes there's no collaboration because the peers are not there. Keep running tabs, use boldface, use colors, use different fonts. It looks ugly. There's no such thing as a mistake. You don't have to proofread, you don't have to edit. Use big print. Nobody's going to care if you use 24-point Bedoni bold. Use things while sometimes you can cut and paste from ProQuest. Sometimes you can't even highlight them. You have to take your own notes. Keep running lists. I mean, it looks crazy, but I mean, think in terms of annotated bibliographies. I'm not going to get into it right here. It's hard. It's long. It's abusive. You have to do it on one of your reports. Your professor says you need at least 30 of them. That is your stable. You will be astounded. But every time you do a regular citation, you also on the side, on Microsoft Word somewhere, put aside an annotated bibliography. When you're doing your actual writing of your dissertation, wow, this is familiar to you. You're building a stable while you're doing all of the boring assigned work. This is an example. This is exactly what came from just going through, picking up some references and citations. I found these, and then boom, suddenly I have abstracts, I have substance, I have things to think about for my dissertation. Why? Because I took the time to do the extra 5 minutes and create an annotated bibliography from all of the necessary research, even if it's not assigned. These are actual pages from my own notes here. blah, 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 yada, 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 and intercept. At what point I say, this could apply to DIP. I don't know why. I put it in, so when I go back and I review it for a paper or a field study or an assignment, it's there. I highlight, I boldface, I caps, whatever you need to do. Don't be afraid. It doesn't have to be pristine. Do it wild, but do it for yourself. Personal items, money. You're working with other people. Don't assume that everybody has tuition remission, that everybody has a job, and that everybody can afford Northeastern. Be careful when you say, you know, if you use Adobe Premium Programmer for Adobe Production, it would be much easier when it's $399 for the student subscription. It's easy to tell someone, hey, you know, if you were using a new Mac Razorbook and everything, no, not everyone has the $2,300. Think about it. Paywalls. You're suggesting to your teammates, hey, you really need to go over here. Yeah, not everybody wants to keep spending $5.99 to see a documentary or a movie. You don't know the struggles that your colleagues are going through. Don't make assumptions that really put people in pain. They're struggling. You have to struggle back. You have to struggle by being considerate. Be careful. They may be going week to week with their income, a fixed income just to stay in school. Respect your own family and respect the families of others. One class or two, you see what I wrote over here? Yeah, you can take 2 electives, you know, you can take 1 required and not. But when you get into R3 and R4, seriously consider taking 1 course. There's a problem. If you're FAFSA and you have a student loan and they require 6 or 8 credits, you don't have a choice. You know, you might not have $8,000 or $10,000 sitting around on your credit card to pay for tuition. So yes, the reality is not the same as my suggestion. My suggestion is people will tell you, R3 and R4, this is a full-time job in addition to your full-time job. This is a full-time job. Weekends are tough. Guilt trips, look at it this way. They will assign books to you on how to be a student. In the early days, your first few courses will be how to do a dissertation, how to be disciplined. Throw some of that stuff in the garbage. Don't sacrifice your health, your relationships, your partners, your families, your kids, your mom, your dad. Sometimes you need to take a long weekend and do nothing. Sometimes spring break is spring break. Sometimes you need to step back. You can tell, you can know. Those who love you know. They say, wow, you know, you really can't stay here till 3 a.m. every night and then go to work at 8 in the morning. Put yourself first, because if you're not healthy and strong, you're not going to succeed. I'm going to repeat that, but I had it in there. Don't allow your doctoral work to threaten your health or your relations with those who love you. You may have to cut classes. And finally, hey, I didn't make it up. It's not like you're number 1. You've made it. I mean, you're in the most elite, most highly respected program in the EdD universe because of the excellence of you and your colleagues and the faculty that was built. So that's the deal, the real deal, and nothing but the truth. I'm stopping sharing some questions, some comments, some reactions to my biased personal views. Amen.
I just want to take an opportunity to thank. Oh, I'm on. Can you hear me, Mark?
I can hear you now.
I just want to thank you for your honesty. I think a couple of things that really I grabbed on to where you mentioned the importance of the study groups and friendships. Can you elaborate on how that positively impacted your experience through
Absolutely.
R3 and R4?
Great question. Great question. And in some classes, we were 4 or 5 people. I mean, really the workload, I consider this a full-time job. I have a full-time financial planning job during the day, and I was teaching 2 senior level courses online with lots of papers to grade. And my wife, who had just gotten 2 master's degrees in mental health counseling, said, no, play therapy has got a thing in Little Rock, Arkansas. The first week of reopening after COVID, as he schleps me to Little Rock, Arkansas. One of my study buddies for, I forget which course it was, international higher education consulting or something, was the headmaster of a Catholic prep school about a half hour outside of Little Rock. And I called him up and I said to the manager of the Marriott, you know, there's all this going. They cut off a section of the Marriott Business Center. They put a sign up, do not disturb. He drove in after school. I would have never met him in my life. And we co-hosted our weekly Zoom meeting for our discussion and our takeaway meetings, we call them. And we brought in our third person. We recorded it, sent it to the professor. But here we were, two people shaking hands with each other live and becoming friends. And that's what it's about. I mean, you know, I met a Fulbright scholar who was trapped in Vienna, Austria because of COVID, and she helped me with my surveys. She helped me with my e-blast, with my surveys for my dissertation research. Really, really treasure the people. Get to know them. Get to know them. They may be your friends for life.
I appreciate that, Mark. One other thing too, you hit upon, and I don't think it's mentioned enough. So we're in this program, and I really think my personal view too is, you know, we go through F1, R1, F2, R2, and then we start and we take a few electives, right? And we're cruising along. I took the one course quarter route, and then I started feeling more confident. I started doubling up on the concentration courses, right? But I took F1 alone, R1 alone. My job is busy, right? I have kids, full-time school administrator. So I took the R1, F1s alone, and I ended up I started to take the elective and concentration courses together because I just felt more confident in that, because naturally the research courses, there's a lot of work outside of what's being expected of you. But when I was in F3, I was doing my IRB stuff. And the IRB application, doing that was like acted like as a second course realistically, right? Because you're creating that application, and then there are revisions that naturally have to be made, and you're going back and forth with your chair, and you're developing that relationship with your chair while you're
Absolutely.
creating that IRB application, and you take an F3, right? Or whenever you decide to do it. And then my IRB got accepted now, and I was super happy, excited. And this is now going on to the next round, and R3 came along, and then R4 came along, and the work really picked up. I don't want to say unexpectedly, but it was a little bit more than I anticipated based on what I experienced in the prior courses. Now, I had friends that were taking F1, R1 together, and they were taking two plus together. They were cruising along. And then when they got to the R3, thinking that they were going to continue to cruise along with another course, they really started hitting stumbling blocks. And you brought up something about recommending, right? And we're not advisors here. For people who are going to listen to this, we're not advisors. We are students. We are speaking based on our experiences, right? So by no means what we're saying is might not necessarily be right or wrong. I mean, I'm a full-time school administrator, so for me it would have been a challenge for me to take two courses. Although I did start doing it with the concentration stuff, I felt I could handle it. But there was a significant difference for me when I was in the R3 course and the R4 course comparison to previous courses, right? And you really hit upon recommending the R3 and the R4 courses to be taken alone. Can you elaborate on why that is? Not just the workload I spoke about,
No,
but
no,
I know
I didn't get to it. Dennis, our president, is bringing up something important, and I'm not a K-12 person, and I don't know the best way to explain it, but it would seem to me if you're a teacher or a principal, an assistant principal, or whatever, or a master teacher, and you really love being the advisor to the Portuguese club, well, you don't make much money, but coaching girls volleyball is really a lot of fun. Or you're with the Key Club, or you're doing stuff in junior achievement, and that's your passion. And you're taking two courses for the same term when you're doing R4, an elective and the requirement. And the elective happens to be about NGOs. or about authentic leadership in charities and NGOs, and you really love it. And it's like being someone, I mean, we have two people I want to talk about in our family. One of them loves Dairy Queen and one loves Carvel. And, you don't pass by one or the other. And, okay, I'm on a diet or whatever, but there's Carvel. And sorry, I'm going to go to Carvel. You find yourself putting extra time into the elective, using the elective as your safety net. Relaxing that's your cocktail for the evening. And you're neglecting the course you need to graduate or the course you need for your dissertation to be completed, because now you have this ancillary course that you really love and you're spending more time with it. So that's a reason right there not to build in that wonderful distraction of entertainment by taking an elective you love at the same time you're taking a tough requirement. And I'm getting close to departing. Uh, any other questions? Jennifer, anything touch you about my family responsibility section?
Especially as I was trying to put my newborn son down to sleep. So it was kind of on brand here. I think one of the key points is not only is this an opportunity for community, but this is also an opportunity for networking, and you should take advantage of both. I think that's one of the things that stood out for me.
And the resources are, we used to call each other, I had never seen this before, even in my master's program, fellow learners, not classmates, not colleagues, fellow learners. And come on, one of the first colleagues, fellow learners, was from Rutgers University's Center for Women's Studies in Newark, New Jersey, building first generation opportunities for Dominican students in New Jersey, along with the mother of an NFL All-Star from South Carolina. And I've mentioned in our other meetings where the head of Habitat for Humanity of Asia from, I don't know, Manila or somewhere was on every night. A gentleman who was on an aircraft carrier in Bahrain, an admiral. She was the head of HR for the U.S. Navy. Someone else was the director of development for the International Red Cross. They were on the screen from Geneva, Switzerland. And Jennifer and Dennis and Mark, we're sitting in our abodes sharing and learning. Come on. We're learning as much from each other as we are from, sorry, Dr. Anderson, from the profession. And Northeastern has built this. Northeastern invented co-op. They invented, what you call an intern. So it's a lifelong network that really was strong. And, I was grandpa, but I was treated as a peer. A lot of fun, respect, getting to know people. Our previous president, Mary McNamara, Dr. McNamara, was very generous with her time. She was an administrator. And Dr. Anderson was a reader, second reader on my dissertation. He's giving up his time right now. So I just want to point out that when I say utilize your team and utilize your study group, these are relationships for life. These are relationships for life. I have to run, guys. Okay, forgive me.
Before I leave, I want to go on me ending the recording more. I just want to thank you for your preparation in this, and the hope is that I'm going to turn this into a video and upload it so our GSERA membership can view at leisure at their own time. But I know you did put a lot of work into your presentation, thought, and what you present to us. So, on behalf of the board, I want to thank you, Dr. Mark, for the time you gave us tonight in preparation for this.
Thank you all. I'll see you at the next meeting.
Take care.